Hello everybody, my name is Spieler, and today I want to do a bit of a different video I haven't done, and also, sorry for not uploading for like a year and a half. Been just honestly working on maps, that's been my main thing, so I want to bring the YouTube stuff a little bit back. Not going to hold any promises, but I will try to just upload a little more than I was. But I want to start a different series where I kind of go over the different maps that I've created and show you the different techniques that I've took advantage of to make the map. So we're going to start off with the Tornado Alley map, which is my most recent map I've finished. Or is out right now. It's actually out for free. It's on my Patreon, so you can go check that out right now if you want. I'll have the link and everything down there to download it. This map has 4 different versions. There's a dynamic version, there's dynamic no mods, there's the empty version, and then there's a static version. I recommend the static one if your PC is not that good. The empty one is good if you want to set up your own obstacles and objects to get destroyed by the tornado. And then you have dynamic no mods, which is actually a pretty good option if you want to have some of the dynamicness but without all the lag. And then this one is the lag machine. You definitely need a higher CPU. I'd recommend at least probably like 18 threads, not 18, 16 threads or something. I don't know, just you gotta have a high CPU with that. So without further ado, let's actually begin. We're gonna start off actually with the dynamic version because that is the main one that I originally made this map using. So I want to go through that. So we'll just start at the start. So I kind of want to show the techniques that I took when making this, because this is it's a fully destructible map, and 2, it's a tornado survival map, and I want to show you how I got tornado to actually move around randomly and all that good stuff. So let's just wait for the map to load in. Alright, so we are in. I will just pause the game real quick. So this is sort of where you start on the map. This is just sort of to get you an idea of all the things you're going to need, so you don't need all these mods, and then you have a tornado AI tutorial, which I will show in this video, but that's just how it works, at least when you want to do a random vehicle to have the tornado roam around. We also got a warning for, obviously, if you have issues. I tried to figure it out. I don't know. I have some weird things where you sometimes will instability randomly. Some people don't have that. Some people do, but I'm not exactly sure. And then there's a little tip to get around. But you go into this, and then go to manage vehicles, and then this, so you can select your vehicle, because there are a ton of objects, obviously, on this map that you need. All right, so let's actually begin. So let's get into the world editor. This is sort of the main area where you work in, obviously. If you haven't seen the world editor, this is sort of what it looks like. It looks a little different when you start it for the first time, but I set it up this way because I just like it this way, where you have all these different tabs that you can open and close, and then, you know, exit out if you want, like that. So let's start off with showing how I actually did the tornado. If you haven't actually seen this, let's actually spawn out a vehicle that we can use to roam around. So let's get out the D series. That's sort of the default vehicle that I would recommend for the tornado. Also, if you haven't used the tornado before, go do it. It is a very good mod that means Stefan worked on. Stefan did all the coding. I helped with the model and getting the EF ratings. And yes, there is an EF6. I know it's not real, but it's cool. All right, so let's go to here. Let's set this as a tornado. We'll do an EF5 because that's fun. Pause the game because otherwise it will start destroying stuff. And actually, let's set this a little further away. Right there. Okay, now I can still pause it. So let's actually open up the UI apps. Add an app. Go to AI. You're going to want to get the AI control app. You're going to want to tab out of that. And then you're going to set this vehicle to random, because that's going to set it along the different path. And you might be thinking, oh, but it's going to go along these roads. No, it's going to go on a separate path that I've set up for this entire map. So that's sort of what I want to show right now. So let's go into the world editor and let's search for invisible road. So as you can see, all these roads are invisible because they are actually AI roads. You can set AI roads by going to the drivability and setting it to 1. All right, so I'm going to highlight all of these, and then we're going to set this to, I don't know, let's just say a white line. So now you can actually see the entire layout of this map. So if I go over to Deca Road and then check this to have AI roads selectable, these are all the AI roads that are in the map. Obviously, if I set to that, these would be all the non-AI roads, and it wouldn't be able to select the AI roads, which is a very useful tool to have. Obviously, you can do that, I think, with the over objects as well. When it's like going over a bridge or something, you can do that, but I don't really mess with this. So let's go put it back on there, and now you can actually see the path that the tornado will be taking right now. The car is going to get on a path, and then randomly, because you set it to random, it's going to randomly select where to go. As you can see, it's either going to go left or right here. Which way is it going to go? It went right. So that's sort of what it does on the entire map. So if you see it going in circles, that's probably why, because it's sort of set to go all these random directions. So this sort of gives you a background to how the map actually works. When you don't have this, it's very unpredictable because there's so many different ways it can go, and I really like the way I have it set up because it's kind of just randomly going to go through everything. And see, that's one of the instabilities. I don't know. I have these issues. You might not have them. I'm not exactly sure. The only way to do it is to control R. As you can see, it's it's ripping up the entire place. It's ripped up a few things. I love how these get destroyed. I think it's really fun. But yeah, that's sort of the one thing on this map that I think is really cool. And look at the dust over there. That's crazy. Yeah, if you haven't used this map is really good with this tornado mod that Stefan and I worked on. I'm very, very, very proud of this. But yeah, no, anyways, that's sort of how the AI works. So you don't see this in the map, obviously. It's normally just completely blank. But if you want to know how that works, that's sort of how I had it set up. So you can do this if you want to make your own tornado map, like say on West Coast. You can just set up and make sure it doesn't like obviously collide with any static objects like this. If I set the AI path, if I set it to go into a tree or an object or something, it will actually get broken because you would stop in your dead tracks and then it would not go any forward because the car would get stuck because the tornado is actually a car. I don't know if there's a way around it, but that's sort of the only limitation that you really have with this technique. But it really works when you're doing storm chasing because you don't know where it's going to go because I have it set up to random. I think you can have it chase you as well. Why is my car going backwards? That's also another bug. I think if you like hold down S and then go into free cam, it just starts like tweaking and it goes like, it just starts backing up. Very strange. BeamNG can be a little weird. And then as actually we're doing this, I'm just going to let that play. I also want to show you how I added the objects in the map. If you don't know this technique, this is something I actually learned with this map because before I would use prefabs to get all these stuff in, but prefabs are a little finicky, at least that I've noticed, so I don't really mess around with those anymore. The only quickest way or the easiest way that I found to do it is to obviously have your vehicle out. So if you have a vehicle out, you're going to go down and press can save because normally these are defaulted. So if you end up spawning a vehicle, if I go here, Bruckle Legrand, if I spawn that in, it shouldn't have can save on. Yep, it does not have can save on. So if I put can save on and then save the level with Control S, it will actually save this to the level. So when you actually pack your map, it's going to be all set. So you'll be able to actually add custom vehicles or props that I've throwing out. Like even these props. Like I set everything to be props basically, besides the barn because there's no barn prop. And I don't know how to mount a whole destructible barn. Somebody could do that. That'd be awesome. I'd put that in the map. But obviously, ooh, big lag spike. That's fun. You guys gonna crash, bro? Jesus. Alright, so the game just crashed, which is always very fun, and that you will probably experience that just because, you know, it is kind of a strenuous map. But now, I load up on the static version, which is obviously, if I go to the free roam, it's this one right here. And that's probably the one I'd recommend using because you can still spawn up your own props, but everything's in, and it looks pretty cool. Like, none of these are dynamic. I mean, basically everything is static, which looks really good still. So, obviously, the tornado can't destroy anything, which is a little bummer, but that's just to save on performance. This is the map you're going to use if you don't have a good PC. But yeah, obviously these aren't destructible anymore. But I had the same layout in mind, so everything's still, you know, like it looks like the original map, but it's just not. Anyways, as I was saying, the can save is still a thing. So if I, you know, I don't know, is the player? Yeah, the player is not set for that, obviously. So yeah, if you ever see like a vehicle that's randomly in one of my maps, I probably put can save on by accident, and that's sort of what happened. I think my clickbait cursed loops has that, which is kind of funny. I think I left my personal vehicle in there, which is kind of goofy, but you know, it's gonna be in there, I guess. But yeah, that's one of the techniques that I've used to save the vehicles. I'm sure, you know, most mappers know that, but I didn't. So if anybody who doesn't know that can know it now. I'm trying to think if I have any other techniques that I've used in this map. I mean, the only other one, I guess, that most mappers probably know is if you set a SFX. So if you go to create object and then the sound emitter right here, you can actually spawn this up, and then you have a lot of control over it. I should probably do a dedicated tutorial on each of these systems, just because if I was at least new to map modding, that would probably be very helpful to have a tutorial. So I might get on that, do a little more tutorials like this. But this sort of gives you a rundown. So you just set it to not is 3D, because 3D will only have a certain sound on it for a radius that you set, and this is a very wide radius for some reason. But you can turn that off, and then it will play throughout the entire map, and then you can choose your soundtrack. So file name right here, you just go here, and then you find it in your level. So you go to levels, dynamic static, art, and then we'll go to the sounds folder that I added, and then you'll put whatever sound you have in there, and then it will grab from that. So I have the thunder sound going on, and that's sort of just in the map, which is very nice. And you can hear the background, I think, if the audio is working. Hopefully it is. And then another thing about this map, it does have a skybox, which is really nice actually, because if it didn't have it, this is what it would look like. And let's put it back on. I might also do a tutorial on how to add a skybox, but there already are a ton of videos that go over that, so I don't know if I need to do one. If you want me to do it, I can do it. I guess while we're at it, I'll load up the other versions of the map as well. We'll do the dynamic no mods. This is basically the same as the dynamic, but it only uses the props in the game. So you're able to still save on some performance, but you still have the dynamic objects that you can destroy. I think the gas station, the bridge, and a lot of the extra other mods, like the homes, like I think the Crash Hard Shed is not in here, obviously, but it still has some of the dynamic objects. Like these are all dynamic, which is nice. I have some of these, which are, you know, fun to destroy. And then these, which are the drive-in cars, which are pretty fun. Oh, another thing about this map. Oh yeah, I forgot about this. I'm surprised I was almost going to forget about this. I have teleporters in the map. If you go to the world area, and then you click on the teleporter, and I set it to debug, it will stay on. So this is one of the teleporters that actually will teleport you from, if you go into here, it'll go all the way over here. So it teleports you to the other side. But yeah, no, so it'll send you on your merry way. So if I just enter here, boop, and then you're over here. I was working with Stefan trying to figure out how we could maintain our speed going into it. So as you come out, you maintain your speed, which would be really fun for other map ideas, like a portal map sort of thing. But we're still working on that. So maybe in the future, something like that might happen. But for now, this is what I have. And then it's the same for over here. Like you can enter from over here and it will bring you to all the way on the other side over here. So sort of the map extends out here. Obviously the detail is all in here, but you know, if you want to adventure out, you can go over here and do that. And then for the last thing I'm going to go over, this is more of a stylistic choice, not necessarily a technique, but I did model, or well, technically I found this is actually from SketchUp, but I did texture it. This is a storm sheller thing. Sheller? Seller. Yeah, sure. This is a storm Jesus Christ. This is a sort of storm shelter that you can actually go inside. And also the door is just a regular upscale door. If you go down inside of it, you can actually let's spawn my vehicle up here, and you can actually walk inside of it, which I'm happy with. I like making maps that you can go inside of. I think that's pretty fun. You can go down here and then enjoy your solitude as you die. Or well, I guess as your car dies up there, and you actually get to live and, you know, go to sleep in this dingy, flickering basement. But yeah, there's 2 storm shelters in here that you can do. So if you play on multiplayer, obviously do the static version of multiplayer, or maybe I don't know if you can get away with the dynamic version of multiplayer, like the dynamic version that's no mods. I'm not exactly sure. You can try it out, but maybe I don't know fully. You definitely can't do the dynamic modded version. I know that for a fact. But there's also another storm shelter over here. But yeah, no. So I have 2 of these. They all have beds. I thought it was something to add because, you know, otherwise it would be empty, and that's kind of unrealistic. So it's good to have something in there. But yeah, those are the main techniques on this map that I've used. I'm going to go over some other maps as well. This is sort of going to be a new series I'm going to be doing. I think the next map I'm going to go over is my horror map, which I think will be a lot more interesting of a video because I have so many more techniques that I've used in that one. But the main technique in this one is just using dynamic props everywhere that I can save. And then the other one is the AI path, which is actually one of my favorite things I've done. Especially since it works with Tornado, it's really fun to do actual storm chasing. It makes for a very, very fun thing to do with either with friends or just to mess around with the destructible objects, which is also very fun in the game. But yeah, that's going to be about it for this video. If you guys enjoyed, please hit that like button down below and subscribe if you aren't already, and I will be uploading a lot more hopefully. So I will catch you in the next video. Bye guys.